Hey everyone, I am Prodzy, and today we're going to be talking about sound design. So I want to discuss some of the techniques and more importantly, the theory behind layering of your sounds. And hopefully you will be able to take these techniques and apply them to your own music if you aren't already. So I want to begin by first breaking down exactly what you heard at the beginning of this video into a few fundamental layers, each of them shown in a different color. Starting from the bottom, we have a sub-bass and other low frequency elements all blended together, but more on that later. In the next layer, we have a simple chord stack and an ARP pattern that adds fullness to the mid-range. Moving up, we have a layer for the color. In this layer, I'm using convolution reverb on some bass sounds along with a 3x oscillator lead to insert more tonality and really tie everything together. And now we're here at the top where I added some percussive elements to really give the combined sound a bit more punch in the mix. So now that we have all these layers broken down, we can dive into what each one actually is. So I've prepared this demo project because, well, yeah. So what we have here are essentially those same exact layers just represented in FL Studio in similar-ish colors. So what is the need for layering anyway? Well, for me, the need for layering comes when I typically want to either add to the frequency spectrum for a given sound, or add character to a section of a track, like for example a melody with a counter melody. In situation 1, after cutting out nasty frequencies, you can often be left with this void in your frequency spectrum, which can cause your track to feel pretty unbalanced. So how do we fix this issue? Well, I've found that you can either create something that sounds nicer to fill in those frequencies that were removed, or you could carve out a section of another sound, like a sample, and use that instead. Sculpting sounds like this can really help make each individual sound more unique while balancing out the overall mix with something more pleasant to listen to. Jumping back into the bass layer now, I used a serum to make this sub-bass. I find that when I'm dealing with a choppy sound like this, having a plucky envelope shape where your sustain is turned down a bit helps make the attack of the sound more pronounced in comparison. I also used envelope 2 with a rapid 2-octave pitch down to give the transient even more punch in the mix. The next layer has this tiny little low mid sound, and its job is just to fill out that space, making the overall mix more full sounding. The sound is there, but it's extremely quiet, and I find it doesn't really take much to achieve the effect I'm going for. Right above our lows is a supersaw and ARP combo that helps fill out the mids and upper mids respectively. I have these ARPs panning around, and when paired with the supersaw, I think it really helps fill out the space and helps the track feel more energetic in that area. Next up is this convolution layer that adds that color to everything. You can use plugins like Kilohertz Convolver, but for this I'm just using the stock Convolver. Since the idea behind this track was color bass, I picked a few sounds I liked and then added an impulse response of a chord. I actually ended up separating those sounds into 2 distinct layers. So I guess it's kind of a layer within a layer, but the second one is only there to add a bit more wideness to the sound as well as some texture to that part of the mix. Other than that, there's a simple 3x oscillator lead playing with the other 2 layers, which adds that last touch of tonality to this part of the sound. And finally, we have a few percussive elements to give the first few milliseconds and the transients of each individual hit a bit more energy, and I think that this helps everything come together just a little bit better. It is a subtle effect, but all the little details can really come together and make a big difference overall. So I hope you take all of these strategies with you the next time you open your session.